Okay. Election. My name is Ottawa Chamber of Commerce Legislative Action Committee, and we have some other committee members here tonight helping us out. We have two runners here that will be collecting questions from the group. They're raising their hands right now, so if you have a question for any of our candidates, raise your hand. They have pencils and paper. They can come by and give you the material to write your question down, and they'll bring it up to our volunteers here that will pass them along. A couple now. You're a candidate and you haven't checked in to our table in the back, please do so. If you have your cell phone with you, please make sure it's either off or on silent. This is being recorded and will be broadcast live on Facebook and then rebroadcast on the television channel, so we don't want any of that interrupting our candidates' questions and answers. Restrooms are located outside in case you need them. When we're asking questions to the candidates, we appreciate all the candidates being here this evening. Let's make sure and remember that this forum is so we can learn more about the candidates and their positions. So make sure your questions are about their position, whether it's city commission or on the school board. We won't ask any personal related questions. The sponsors this evening: Ottawa Area Chamber of Commerce Legislative Action Committee, Franklin County Farm Bureau Association, and American Legion Post 60. So thank you very much for sponsoring this event tonight. Thank you for the City of Ottawa for hosting us and allowing us to use the room, and for Matt and Paul helping us record and get the audio for everybody here. So let's get started. So each candidate, we're going to give you 3 minutes to open up with an introduction and a little bit about why you're running, and then you'll have a 1-minute close at the end of the forum as well. So why don't we just start with Mr. Wygan on my side.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate the sponsors that have arranged for this and to let us give some views of the City of Ottawa. I've always been an advocate of the City of Ottawa. I have no problem promoting Ottawa and have done that for years, and I look forward to always telling them about all the things that we have here and why it's a great place to live. You know, we're a tree city, we're a playful city, we have great parks, we have great schools, we have great hospitals, we have a great hospital with good physicians, and so we got all those bases covered. The reason I'm interested in the City Commission is that now we need to move towards growth in our population, as well as new jobs, good paying middle class jobs. The city and the county have made a great investment, millions of dollars of investment in Proximity Park, and that illustrates that they are interested in recruiting people, recruiting jobs, recruiting good employers, and those who hopefully pay good wages that will afford the employee the ability to buy cars and build houses and pay for them, and create a community that children want to graduate from school here, and if they go on to school, on to college, then come back here and reside and raise their family. Or if they don't choose, then jobs are open to them locally that pay well, out of trade schools and all those things. And I'm really encouraged and excited about what the Franklin County Economic Development Council and James Olson have started on as far as developing an available and educated workforce and understanding what that takes and how you promote it. And you got to have it these days. So someone will show up for work, ready to work, be educated. I'm excited about that. And I think the City Commission has a huge role in supporting that and making that happen, and creating the kind of city commission and the kind of community that is transparent, that is progressive, that works together, and the people on the street, the people in the businesses, from elected officials on down through the ranks of the employees, they are going to be the best recruiters for people to come and work here and live here and raise their families and stay here. So I want to be a part of that, to go forward and make sure that everybody's educated on what Ottawa's about, what Ottawa offers. And so with that in mind, I'm looking forward to working with future city commission and being a positive force, being influential in making that difference. And that is why I'm here tonight, and that is why I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. And you did an excellent job, by the way, talking into the mic. So I just want to remind all of our candidates, it is being recorded. So just best efforts. If you're talking normal, it should pick you up. So, Mr. Steve.
Start by saying I'm going to go on script here, but I wanted to start by saying that it actually took me a long time to even think of what I wanted to say up here, and I spent far longer thinking of that than actually writing the speech. But all that I kept coming back to is a few things I could promise you as a commissioner. It's the fact that I love Ottawa genuinely, and I love being very open with people. But you might ask why run for city commission right now. I think being able to serve as commissioner is important to me for several reasons, including letting me help people in different ways than just volunteering, and because I think that I could bring something to the chambers that's very needed and that has incredible connectivity. I'm not saying that you should vote for me because I'm on Facebook a lot, heavens no, but even in the short amount of time that I've officially been running as a candidate, people have reached out so many times either looking for advice, looking for an opinion, and I absolutely love it. I love being that utility. I love being able to be a resource for people. Just this week, a citizen had a concern about one of our local parks. Emily and myself were tagged. I was able to comment before the post was 5 minutes old. We sent a message, other people commented, and the guy was able to get the ball rolling before the day was up by contacting parks. Now, I'm not promising that if elected I can respond to everything within 5 minutes that you post online, but I will say that I love being connected, and being connected to several different social media sites is really important in 2017. If you happen to send me a snap, a Facebook message, a text, I'll be able to reply to you. Now, I've attended city meetings and several functions over the last decade, just unelected, just as a citizen, and just because I like to have a finger on the pulse of the community. And I've noticed that the people you meet at official functions, at face-to-face functions, and the people that you meet online are drastically different, and it's very important to be connected to all of them. And I have a 6-year-old son and a 3-year-old son. I own a home here, and although my boys take up the majority of my time, even as commissioner, I love that I would be able to keep my same job, be able to play with my kids and take them to school every day. I'd still be able to deliver Meals on Wheels. I'd still be able to help out at Prairie Paws, and I'd still have all the time to go to the functions that I would need to as a commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Blake Jorgensen, and I'm running for re-election as your city commissioner. I was first elected to this position in 2005 and re-elected twice, including 3 terms as mayor. In 2015, I decided not to run for re-election and took a year off. After the second commission seat was vacated by Sean Dickinson, I was asked to apply and fill. I was selected and to fill Scott Dickinson's unfilled seat. I am a Ottawan by choice. I came to this community for a job. I expected to stay here for 2 years, and 30 years later, I'm still here. That's kind of indicative of how much my wife and I love this community. We had opportunities to move elsewhere, but had deep ties to this community because of the friends and that we've made in the community. My wife Kelly and I had 3 daughters. All 3 were born right here at Ransom Memorial Hospital. And all 3 of them are grown. 2 of them have launched. I had 2 of them married this summer, and which was an expensive summer for me. The third daughter is a sophomore at Washburn University, which is also kind of an expensive transaction. I first ran for this office to make this community a place that my kids would consider moving back to. So therefore, jobs and quality of life are very important to me. I am a banker, I am a conservative, and I try to keep taxes as low as possible. But I am aware that any positive change must happen from within our community. We can't expect anybody outside to make changes for the good of Ottawa. I've always considered Ottawa, and have always been told that Ottawa is on the edge of growth. And 30 years ago, we were not ready for that growth. We had infrastructure that needed to be improved. That has since been done. We've built new sewers. We've built new electrical substations. We have an industrial park that is ripe for development as well. I'm excited for the future of Ottawa. I look forward to the questions this evening. Thank you very much.
Sure. Mike Skidmore, running for City Commission, and I was told we had 2 minutes, but you said 3, so I'll try to stretch this out a little bit, what I had planned. We'll make it happen somehow. But I do also want to thank the sponsors for this event, and I feel like every vote should be an informed vote. And I don't know how much more clear I can say that. As long as the people are informed and they know what they're voting for, what more could we ask? And so that's the reason why we have this forum, and I think we'll have the questions later. I think it's a great way to put us all up here and size us up and see how you want to vote. And we totally respect the process, so that's how it works. I was actually born and raised here. After college, I went to Central Kansas, worked out there for about 17 years. We had 3 children born out there, but we moved back here where the opportunity came in '95, and all of our kids graduated from high school here, so that was kind of exciting to see them, in some ways, have some of the same teachers that my wife and I had, but it made it interesting as well. But people have asked me the same question, why are you running? And I feel like there's kind of this unfinished business, in my opinion. Big one is Proximity Park. We committed a lot of taxpayer money to join with the county to buy that property out there for the purpose of developing for a new industrial park. And we haven't seen any returns yet. Now, I understand those things take a while, and it's going to be the process that we have to have patience to work with. But I feel like another term, whether it be 2 or 4 year term, I would like to work to try to make something happen out there, to have some kind of return on our investment so the community would know that that was a good choice. We made a wise choice to make that investment, and there will be a return someday when things start going vertical out there. I also would like to promote recreation. I think it's a critical element as I look at our youth, and sometimes there's nothing to do, they say, but I'd like to promote more recreation. We have the Gopper Teen Park that's been started. I'd like to see that come to fruition as well. The way I understand it is it may be the first teen park in the state of Kansas, and so I think it's something we can really key on and promote, and look forward to having that be completed. Another one is the rail trails. If I studied geometry right, and if 2 straight lines can only intersect in one location, and I hope I'm right on that, my geometry teacher taught me that, and that happens at First and Walnut. And so we have a very good opportunity, I think, at our nature trail, be the Flint Hills Nature Trail and the Prairie Spirit, where they intersect to be able to promote our trails in Ottawa. And I think as they bring in people, they spend money, we collect sales taxes, and then that obviously helps our bottom line. And another thing, too, is housing. That's something I really like to try to promote as well. I know it's a difficult thing. Some people describe it as like pushing a string. It's kind of hard to promote from our standpoint in the public sector, but there are some things I think we can provide incentives for builders to come back, and let's bring our housing back into shape where it should be. So I appreciate your vote on November 7th.
My name is Emily Graves. I grew up here locally in one of the small towns where when you drive to Ottawa, that's the big city that you go to get your groceries at. I have 2 young children. Usually one of them, at least one of them, is here at commission meetings with me, but they are not tonight. I work at the hospital and lived in Ottawa for about 10 years. I've been on the commission for 2, and similar to Blake, I had filled a vacancy after a resignation. And after my 2 years, I feel like I am just now getting my feet underneath me. I've been through budget season a couple times, and you just kind of figure out how things work after that time. Since I've been on the commission, I've been on the Play Task Force and Project 3895, which tries to get adults having some fun in our community. I'm the commissioner rep on the Ottawa Memorial Auditorium Board. I helped start a pop-up store in 2015. Went through Leadership Franklin County, and used some of my contacts to start Ottawa Area Young Professionals, which happens to be thriving right now. We aim to keep our young professionals here in town engaged and connect them with volunteer opportunities here in town. I feel like keeping these individuals in our community is imperative as they're our workforce of tomorrow. And I really enjoyed doing all these things. It keeps me busy, and sometimes that's not a good thing. But and I would love to continue doing the work that I've done so far.
I'm going to give you each 2 minutes to answer this next question. And when you think about opportunities and challenges for the city of Ottawa in the future, what 2 things do you believe are opportunities that the city of Ottawa has going for it that you'd like to improve on, and what 2 things do you see as challenges that the city faces that we can help improve on. And let me just start with Brett on this first question. So 2 minutes.
Okay. So 2 things that we have an opportunity to improve on. I had applied to fill the vacancy that we had most recently when Linda Reed stepped down. And one of the things I tried to focus on there is I really want to do something to improve our inward image. I think Ottawa's a great town, and I think everyone up here would agree with it. But one of the common phrases you seem to see online when something goes awry is only in Ottawa, or go figure it's in Ottawa. You always hear some cynical comment like that. And thank you. And I'd love for there to be some way, some focus that we can have to try to improve that. I think that if people focus on the positives, they'll see that this town's got a lot going for it, no matter how small it is. Another opportunity to improve is, I feel like the infrastructure has improved pretty greatly, even when you look at little things, the sewers that we heard about, putting more curbs in, things that have a long-lasting impact. I want to stay focused on those, because it's easy to just say you want to fix roads, but the curbs, that was a big one that people seem to not really grasp when it first came up, how it protects eroding from underneath the road level, and how important it really is. So I do say infrastructure, but specifically roads and things like that. 2 challenges. I think the biggest is also one of our assets. We're really close to big cities. We're only a few minutes from Lawrence for recreation. We're only an hour or so from so many different parts and suburbs of Kansas City. But I think one of the challenges is getting people to stay here, especially after they graduate school, because those big cities are so close. It's so easy to either commute to a job or go move somewhere, and we need to find something that'll help keep people here. I think the Ottawa Area Young Professionals, even though it's an inaugural year, I think it's looking really promising. I think the work that Emily and the others have done, it's really great. It's going to help keep people here. But in the meantime, it is a challenge. Precious few seconds left. I'd have to come back to you with another challenge. I can't think of another big obstacle right now. That's one that I think has a really long-lasting impact, though.
Okay, thank you for taking that on first. Appreciate it.
Right.
Blake, I'll just move down the line.
Okay. I believe that we do have several opportunities ahead of us. The most obvious one is Proximity Park and the opportunities that it presents itself for future development. Also, which goes hand in hand with that, another opportunity is the intermodal up at Edgerton. We are on the edge of a considerable amount of job opportunities. At one point, I heard that Edgerton may have 14,000 jobs, and then, who knows what we're going to have out here in Proximity Park. The challenge then comes forward is where we're going to put these and who's going to be working these jobs. And we have the Franklin County Economic Development Corporation has initiated a new workforce project to help train individuals to start in these jobs and try to attract individuals to our community. But we also have the issue of where these folks are going to live. Right now, if you look online at Realtor.com or Zillow, the number of homes that are available in our community are rather low. And when a decent property comes up for sale, is oftentimes sold within a week. So, that's kind of indicative that we have issues of available housing. And so we have to take steps to cure that as well.
Okay, Mike.
Down the line. Well, opportunities, as I said earlier, I think the rail trails is still a huge opportunity for us. And we tried these there. We did have a race here recently, and we had some good response from that. I think the first one went well, but I'm sure there'll be many more to come, and I'm looking forward to see what we can do with the rail trails. And another one is, like Blake said, Proximity Park. That's going to take some time. James Oltman, our FCDC director, I pulled him aside one time, and I know he's frustrated sometimes with not enough progress happening yet. And I reminded him it was like the funeral director that moved to a town where the average age was 28. The work will be there. You just have to be patient. And that's true. It's the same way with this out here. So I think it will come. We just have to be patient, and I'm sure it will be there someday. And obviously, by the Proximity Park and the growth out there, hopefully that will spread our tax base. And that's the second thing. The challenge, I think, is keep our taxes low. We went through a budget season here recently, and our mill levy hit 49.9, and Blake made the motion. I appreciate that, to keep it under 50. Just that 50 handle is just kind of a stretch that we just didn't want to go there. And so I agreed with him. I second that motion when he made that for our budget. So it is a challenge. We have to provide the services for our community that they expect and need and want, at the same time keeping our costs at a minimum. We're keeping our taxes as low as we can, and it is a challenge. And so I think going forward, that's going to be one of our continued challenges we face. Many people, that's what they say, the taxes are just too darn high. And housing, I think also is as Blake said, is a challenge as well. There's ways we can combine public and private entities together to make things happen. Blake being in banking, myself in banking, we know what that's like when someone comes in and wants a loan for an apartment complex. But you look at the returns and the risk, and we went through the housing crisis in 07, 08, and some things you just don't forget. And so it is a challenge to get the private sector involved in that, and as far as opening up and lending money. But I still look at that as housing as an opportunity as well as a challenge.
I have to echo what some of the other gentlemen have said. We do have Proximity Park as an opportunity with 300 plus acres of potential, really, that we get our chance to fill. We also have people as our other opportunity. We have a lot of people who care about this community and who are willing to put the work in that needs to happen. 2 challenges, I would say one of them would be growth. We talk about growth as, we want it to happen quickly, but we also need to understand that we have to support the growth that happens through infrastructure, housing. So it really needs to be basically a steady growth. And the workforce to support Proximity Park, we need the right people for the right jobs. And again, that'll go back to having housing for those individuals. But those were my 2 challenges.
Okay, thank you.
Well, there are many opportunities, I think, out there, and one of them, there's a two-edged sword. We do need housing. We need a housing inventory. We need new homes built, new affordable homes built. We do have the land and some of the developments that could be built out for the housing. And I go back to the theory I've had for years is that more housing could be developed downtown and using the second floors of some of our older buildings and some of the 2-story buildings in the downtown area, and I think the city could be involved in helping that take place. Proximity Park is a real opportunity to display our community, market our community through websites and all of the things that go into marketing and bringing attention to our community. The challenges go along with that park. I attended a luncheon today in Edgerton at the logistics park, and they talked about where their employees come from. And employees, half of them come from maybe Johnson County, Kansas City area. The rest of them come from Franklin County and Miami County and places in between. So we've got competition. They've got 11 million feet built up there. They've only got one spec building that doesn't have an occupant yet, but they think they have one coming in. Talking about building a truck stop. Well, we have a truck stop here, a travel plaza that, again, we need to market, that we're close. The proximity is a great name, I think, the intersection of highways. And then the other challenge is making sure the training of the workforce, the education of the workforce, that all of our community works together and acknowledges that families have kids that are going to need a job eventually. They're going to need a place to live. So getting that pushed to them, and they talked about that today as they're hiring, one company's hiring 30 a week. Just show up every day, and we will train you and pay you and give you benefits and everything, but the workforce today needs to acknowledge that, they need to do those things. And I think through this program that Workforce is talking about, they're going to do that. Thank you.
So, just a reminder again, if you have questions, raise your hand, and one of our volunteers will bring you pencil and paper for you to write it down and get it submitted to us. Give a 1-minute follow-up to that topic here. Several of you mentioned, I think maybe all of you mentioned housing as a challenge we see in Ottawa and Franklin County. What role do you see the city playing in addressing that need for housing? And I'll start with Blake.
Well, housing is it's a kind of a complicated issue. The city does not need to be in the housing development business, but we can create a path that's going to make it easier for developers to build houses in our community. We can perhaps look at some incentives for the community, and of course we have the neighborhood revitalization program where they build it in blighted areas, build the homes, they get a rebate of the taxes over a period of years. That's the age-old challenge. We do have developed lots in our community. Some of it is has specials on it so much that they're unavailable for development at this time, and so perhaps that's up in the coves up by south of American Eagle. And I think that we need to be looking at making those lots available for private development. They're not doing anybody good out there now because the taxes aren't being paid, and and getting something on them will be better for the community as a whole. Mike?
Sure, I agree. There is we're somewhat limited with what we can do and getting involved in private sector like that. But I do think there could be some incentives. I think about an empty lot or lots, and if a builder wants to build, maybe we can give them a tax break, maybe graduate over the 5-year period. The first year, 20%, then 40 and up to it's fully taxed, similar to the way a TIF district would work. I realize the problem with that is you come across a builder that just finished a home and he was not awarded that same tax advantage as someone else did. And so you've got to have some kind of a good communication with the builders and the developers in this community to make something like that happen. It could also be some discounts on the inspection fees and some things like that we can do within City Hall that maybe would get sometimes you just need to prime the pump, get it started, and I think we could roll well with it.
Being on the City Commission, we primarily work with the policy side, and as they've said before, doing incentives for the developers when appropriate. And recently we had a couple housing projects come present to us, and we had a chance to choose between a couple different plans which we thought best served our community. So I see that being the City Commission's role, really helping as we can on policy side and choosing, when given the opportunity, choosing which developments best serve what we need.
You know, for several years, I worked downtown Kansas City in real estate and developing and selling some of those old warehouses for $3 or $4 a square foot. Now those warehouses are selling for $50, $60, $70 a square foot because they have incentivized the development of those into apartments and housing, and now there is a critical mass down there that has made that area a very, very popular and very expensive place to live. And I think that we could do that here by giving, complete tax abatements, whether they're doing some 20 years and 30 years, but I think we could do some 10 years, get it developed, get people to living here, getting the critical mass to use our shops and use our theater and use the things downtown by incentivizing that. And I also would like to see the NRP, the Neighborhood Revitalization Program, expanded into where some of the infills. You see neighborhoods where you've got really nice homes that somebody's looked after and others maybe down, just not up to standard of that block, but using the NRP to incentivize the redevelopment of that. So, thank you.
A benefit to being asked a question last is I get to refine my thoughts, but a sad part is when I feel like I'm just echoing. I do feel like there surely would be some sort of an incentivization. The problem is there's so many numbers. It'd be hard for me to sit up here and tell you there's a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan or something like that. But I do know that being on the policy side, if elected, it would be important to approve what gets built. I think if we aimed too high and we built things too expensive, they would end up sitting vacant, and that'd be more harmful than doing nothing. But finding a balance based on the jobs that our town is attracting is really important. Finding a balance with incentives is the only answer I can give you right now, but it would take some refining.
Okay, thank you. So one of the challenges we face in Ottawa is low and stagnant wages, and one of the opportunities every one of you talked about is maybe economic development. Proximity Park was specifically mentioned in most of your comments. What are your views regarding economic development, and what role do you think a city commissioner plays in helping economic development? Let's do 1 minute on that. Sorry. And let's go with Mike on that.
Oh, we'll get started. Okay. Well, I studied economics at K-State. It's been a long time ago, but if if the rules apply then, they apply now as well in supply and demand. But I think the best thing we can do would be to provide jobs for the people would be through our proximity park. And I'm not talking about $8 or $9, $10 an hour jobs. We're thinking somewhere in the mid-teens or higher, just a standard living wage, nothing extravagant, but at least a living wage for 2 people to be working there and be able to survive and make house payment and car payments and get their kids through school. But what we can do, I think, is just the first thing is just to make the provision that we can get some companies to move here to town. I know Tonganoxie went through the Tyson issue, and I think it's very critical that whatever we look at for as companies out there, moving out there, we want the high-paying jobs, but we may not want smokestacks and something that doesn't smell very good for the south end of town coming this way. So that'd be a critical decision for our commission when we look at something like that.
Emily?
As government officials, we can really kind of monitor and direct the growth, provide support where needed. For Proximity Park, we have to provide the infrastructure, do kind of all the behind-the-scenes work. But once those industries go in that park, then we have to provide the workforce in Ottawa. So I think one of the big things that we've been doing to support is, like FCDC has been focusing on workforce and finding the right people that can fill these jobs when we do get the industries in the park. So I think that's probably the biggest issue is workforce development for them.
For the last 27 years, some odd years, I have worked with various city commissions, county commissions, and it's extremely important that city and county commissions understand economic development and what it means to a community, as well as how they appear to those who want to move to their community. They've got to be welcoming, they've got to be progressive, they've got to be able to answer the questions that it takes to satisfy a developer that this is the place they want to invest their money and take their risks. And the City of Ottawa, I think, is challenged with that from time to time. And I think we need to pick that up a little bit as far as being helpful, not only answering questions, but pointing out things that they can do to be successful here. And so I think the City Commission in economic development is one of the extremely important players in successful growth.
Could you read the question again? I feel like.
Sure. So we were talking about the opportunity that economic development, and specifically Proximity Park, could help with the City of Ottawa.
Sure, and we had touched on wages, and that's one thing that I wanted to focus on. We could sit here and do all these Proximity Park promises, but there's still a big question mark there going forward. I do want to be one of the people that you entrust to help make those decisions, but to give you something slightly more specific to focus on is when you look at our first responders, when you look at police and firefighters, those are jobs that people do in a city. Those people generally live in town as well, and a lot of them end up being there 10, 20, 30 years. They retire from there. I think something specific would be to make sure that we do what we can to make sure that they have better wages and perhaps better starting out, because we really want to attract people who want to start careers here and want to develop their families here and stay here. I can't tell you a great joke about working in a morgue in the city population and the city age, but that is one of those things that you can do that will get the ball rolling and will keep great people here with great careers who are invested in the community.
I guess I do have an economics degree from Kansas State University, and without sounding too much like a professor, that taught me the forces of the economy are at work as we talk. We talked earlier about housing. We also enjoy a very low unemployment rate right now, under 4%, which is in the world of economics, that is near or at full employment. So we are competing with Johnson County. We're competing with Douglas County. But the economic forces will balance out eventually. We had an opportunity several years ago to talk to a company that was coming to town and was going to offer $7.50 wages, and we at that time said, no, we're really not interested in you coming to town. And I mean, those are opportunities for us to pick and choose. We are Ottawa. We do have a lot of value here, and people should be eager to come to our community.
Okay. So, Emily, before I forget, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, okay.
And we'll do another 1-minute question. I'm kind of combining two questions that we have submitted here. So, one of the questions is, what are your thoughts on improving brick streets in town? But I want to maybe make that a little bit bigger question that you can address. And so, if you could address that specifically, improving brick streets in town, and then also, what do you see as the most pressing needs for infrastructure or capital projects for the city of Ottawa going forward? And Emily, I'll start with you. 1 minute.
Okay. I actually like the brick streets, which is terrible, but I think it's not something that you see everywhere you go. If you go to some of the larger cities, you're not going to drive down the brick streets necessarily, and so I think it adds a little bit of character to the town. And we talk about keeping the history of Ottawa, keeping downtown, Victorian. I like the brick streets, so I think unless they're really broken, I wouldn't fix them. As for pressing needs, I would say right now just providing infrastructure out to Proximity Park, that's a big project, it's costly. But we also we always have capital projects that needed funded, like a new fire truck. There's always something in the pipeline, but I would say right now focusing on getting infrastructure to Proximity Park.
Thank you. Tom, 1 minute.
I was thinking about Blake's response there, that we are at full employment, but they're fully employed because a lot of them are driving out of town to the job. I'd like to bring those back here and keep them employed up close. Improving brick streets, I like the brick streets. Some of them are a little rough, but maybe with a little maintenance or some expertise and putting some sand under the bricks and getting them smoothed up. But I'd kind of go by neighborhoods. So neighborhoods live on those because they like them. If they petition the city to pave them, fine. But other than that, leave them alone. For capital needs, I think you've done a pretty good job of keeping your rolling stock current. And so I don't see a pressing need for that, and I want to keep the tax structure as low as possible. I would be one of those keeping it under 50 mils.
Okay, Brett.
So first about the brick roads, I agree that if it's not broke, don't fix it. We do have brick roads that are pretty rough, the intersections especially when it's brick to brick. But we should treat those like any other roads. When you have a paved road that needs replaced, you say replace it. If you have a pothole, you say fix it. We should do the same with the brick roads. I love the character that they bring, but most importantly, I don't see the point in spending the money right now if we don't need it. For other pressing or capital issues, I feel like this is going to be a theme that we're going to continue, but because Proximity Park is such a huge investment, making sure that we stay on top of that. It's really easy to say that it's passed, it's built, the land is there, and there are going to be a lot of milestones where it's going to be really easy to kind of check out if you don't stay pressed on top of the issue. And I think we need to make sure that as commissioners we keep a finger on that. Not to say that we need to micromanage it, but it's going to need a lot of attention for years and years to come.
I see the Petersons here used to be my next door neighbors on Elm Street, which is a brick road, and enjoyed that road very much. Where I live now over at 11th and Mulberry, there is also a brick road that was recently rehabbed between the 9 and 1000 blocks of Mulberry. Rehabbed in such that the curbs are replaced. That's a large part of the problem is handling the water and keeping the water from eroding underneath the bricks. Should they be addressed? We still have gravel roads in this town that need to be addressed. At least the brick does not have potholes or mud puddles in the middle of them. So I think it's systematic to address the roads as we see them. Once again, I guess infrastructure challenges, as we build Proximity Park, that's going to have increased traffic down around the I-35, 59 Main Street interchange. And we need to look at handling traffic that's going to occur, that we see cars backing up on the off ramps as it is now, and we have some future focus in that area.
Yeah, well, I grew up on a brick street on West 6th, and I remembered when I came back one time from school, they had paved it. I was kind of disappointed with that, so I agree it does that kind of have some character to it, the brick streets. But at the same time, too, I think, yeah, if it gets to the point where it needs to be replaced, maybe to pull all the landowners on that street before we would make any decision and do anything would be critical. For pressing needs, I think are many times we do spend money on areas of our city you don't see, and that's underground. We have our sewers and water lines. We're in the process of doing some of that downtown. I know we've watched the news. Kansas City, Missouri has been way behind in getting their infrastructure updated, and they're having some issues up there, I know, with some areas that need to be worked on, and the funds are limited for us what they can do to fix that. So I think we do have a plan in place right now to replace the infrastructure going forward. We need to continue with that. And like Blake said, with the gravel streets, I'd like to see is eventually we're kind of on our march to the road to no gravel streets, and I think we're looking close, getting almost to that point with chip and seal and making that happen.
Okay, thank you. Let's go 1 minute on this question as well. This is kind of another two-part question, so bear with me here. In your opening statements, you talked about some of your key attributes and assets to make you good city commissioners. Can you maybe describe what some of your experiences you've had that helps qualify you as a good city commissioner going forward? And then, like most of us, we all have opportunities to improve ourselves. When you find yourselves with key decisions to make and you need advice or someone to help weigh in on that, who do you turn to, or where do you turn to for that advice? And I'll start with Tom. 1 minute.
I've had a lot of experience dealing with city commissioners and city commissions, and sitting on boards and making decisions with others, coming to a common consensus or decision. I feel like a good board member. I ask a lot of questions, and I try to pursue the facts and where people are coming from, and be honest and fair. So that I think will serve me well. I feel very comfortable in that, in working with others to come to a common agreement, and I've done that for all my adult life, really. So I think it would be. I feel very comfortable in the role of making public decisions and defending them, and not being no vote without a reason to vote and justifying that.
Okay, so to address the multi-part question, I think I'll start with how I would connect with people. I touched on it on my opening, and I just want to point out that we have a really good commission right now. We really do. Everyone on the commission is great. The three incumbents that are running to my left, they're all great people, and they're great commissioners. But I feel like I would offer a different level of being able to talk to people. It's important to know what everyone is thinking. When you come to commission meetings or you come to the legislative coffees or something, you have some of the most dedicated people in your town coming to those. It's great, right? What they bring is fantastic. But there are some people who can't get out, people who just don't have the time to come to all of those meetings and get heard all the time. But it's really easy for them to shoot you a message on Facebook, and it's really easy to stay in touch with people. So I'll use that to segue into who I turn to when I have a question. As it is right now, it's really, really easy to rely on my current avenues that I've suggested already. But I think it'd be great to not only have a spot on the commission, have everyone know that you're a focal point and know that they can come to you with issues. I'd love to be that resource for people.
I guess I consider my greatest attribute my financial experience and expertise. The city's budget is over $30 million a year, and being able to look at at departmental budgets and the budget as a whole, which I do for, not for $35 million budgets, for borrowers within our community, but being able to look and kind of break down the numbers and see what's behind the numbers. Who do I talk to when there's issues that come up? I try to identify who's affected by the issues and visit with them and get their viewpoint. I've actually, somebody asked me how many different commissioners I've worked with in the past, and I counted up 13 different commissioners I've worked with over the years, and each of them have a viewpoint and a history that I feel comfortable in focusing on or calling upon, as well as the different people that I have come to know through the years.
Sure. My experience in banking, I've worked in quite a few different banks, and one of the first things I would do when I go into a new bank would be to look at what costs could be cut. Doesn't make you very popular with the rank and file, but still the same. There's some costs that are just embedded so deep that the people that are there can't see them. And so what's one of the things I did when I came on? One thing was that we started bidding out our farm lease on the airport, and we were able to generate some more money that way. Flood insurance was something I wanted to look at too. We had some buildings in flood zones, or maybe not in flood zones, but we had insurance on some they didn't need, and so we worked with Michelle Stegman and we got that changed, so we got the more efficient use of our flood insurance money. And also our borrowings. Anytime we look at interest rates all the time, Blake and I do, and there was some bonds we had that were out there, and I got with Scott Bird, and we looked at our bond council, and we were able to get some bonds refinanced at a lower rate, and I think our total savings over the 10-year period will be about $300,000. So that's what I like to look at, where can we cut expenses, and as far as my direction, I spend a lot of time in prayer. I mean, driving on the highway, Jeff Richards, I don't close my eyes when I drive, when I pray, but but I do spend a lot of time in prayer before I come.
Thank you, Mike. Emily?
I might say one of my qualifications to be a commissioner, I do feel like I am in touch with the people that I represent. People know how to contact me, kind of similar to what Brett said. I have a different way of contacting people, and most of them know how to reach me. I started writing down my own challenges, I guess, and the list kept growing, so I kind of stopped. I mean, it was scary. But I tend to take time to think about things, even in study sessions. A lot of times I'll be kind of quieter. And I tend to like to mull over ideas rather than speak my mind right then. So I think that's one of my challenges. My other's public speaking.
We are getting close to the end, and I think you were each told you have 1 minute for closing remarks. Is that correct? Okay. So, because we have a few extra minutes, I'll give you 1.5 if you want to go a little bit long. And so I think we've gone through most of our submitted questions, so it's a good time to kind of give your closing statement, and I'll start with Emily. Women first.
Well, I mean, it's pretty easy. Each of us are up here because we care about the city of Ottawa. We aren't here for the big bucks, I mean, because they're pretty big as commissioners, as my fellow commissioners know. But we're dedicated to giving our time and energy to making this city better. That being said, I would like to think I keep the best interests of our city, our citizens, and our future citizens in mind when making each vote. I would really appreciate your vote on November 7th. I know I had told somebody that if I did lose, I would like to lose to somebody else who cares, and I could say that we all care a lot about our city. So thank you.
Thank you. Tom, I'll come back down to this end.
For here, okay. I would look forward to bringing to the City Commission some experience and some excitement and some energy and maybe some wisdom as what we go forward to grow this city and get people involved and put everybody together and focus on what is going to make Ottawa the best city possible. And I feel like that I can be a big part and a big help and a big influence and make a difference. And therefore I ask for your vote on November 7th when early voting begins. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Thank you. Brett?
So I should have done it in my opening statement, but I'll go ahead and thank the chamber now for putting this on. We're looking at about 50 people out here. It's really great to see everyone showing up. As far as what I bring to the table uniquely, what Emily alluded to is it's really great. Right now, we have a great commission. Even if nothing changed, we as citizens have a really great commission looking out for us. So there's really no losing this time. But as far as why I feel I would bring something unique to the table and why I think you should vote for me, I think it's always good to have fresh faces on the commission. We do have, like Emily, this will be the first time she's elected, and most people wouldn't know because she's done such a fantastic job, but I think it's good to keep the gears turning. I also think that I'm in tune with the average voter. There's no more specific way I can say that, but I feel like I connect with everyone at least a little bit. I'm out in the community a lot. Normally it's real small events. I'm known for taking vacation time from work for helping out things like the Rush the Rails a few weekends ago. And I just love being involved, but sitting on the commission would not only make me a known go-to point, but I think it would be great if we could also say that we have commissioners repeatedly going out and volunteering, known for connecting with everyone, and known for following up on communication with the average citizen. Thank you.
I as well would like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the groups that are responsible for putting this program on. Being an informed voter is very important to our community, to our country. That's the basis of all of our governance. Early voting starts, I think, as early as tomorrow. Is that correct? Or very soon? Next Tuesday, okay. And so it gives us an opportunity to vote at your convenience. I asked for your vote, and I think Ottawa's in a good position, and I ask for your vote to continue down the path that we're presently enjoying. Thank you very much.
Well, I too would like to say thank you for the sponsors for this, the Chamber of Commerce, American Legion Post 60, and Franklin County Farm Bureau Association. But also, I feel very confident that any four of these people up here, including the writing candidate that's out there, any four of these people get in this position, I feel very confident that we're in good hands with our city. I also feel that we have a good city manager, department heads. Things seem to be clicking very well right now in our government, and so I'm very proud to be a part of that. I'd like to continue. I had served on the commission here for 4 years, 4+ years, I guess, as a result of the state changing the election laws. 1 year as mayor, and I enjoyed that very much, and I'd like to continue. But also, part of my experience being in banking, and I got to add it up, is almost 40 years of banking. And when you're in the banking business, as Blake would agree, you're managing other people's money. And a lot of what we do here in City Commission, we have a lot of money that we have to manage here for the city, and we're responsible for that. And if we goof up, we'll get fired at the bank. If we goof up, we get fired at the election time here. And so I respect that process and how it works. But I really feel like we are on the cusp of some great things here. I would like to be a part of that. We don't know what we don't know. I've heard that before many times, and there's a lot of decisions to be made going forward. But I feel like with the commission that we've had in the past and whatever one will end up in the future, getting together, working together, having the conversation with all involved, we can make the right decision for our community. So I look forward to serving you again November 7th. Be sure and get out and vote.
Okay, well, I want to say thank you to you all for being here. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your participation this evening and answering those questions. As you all mentioned, advance voting starts next Tuesday, October 24th. Election day is November 7th. So, as they all said, please get out and vote and make your voice heard here in Ottawa, Kansas. So, we're going to take about a 3-5. John's giving me 5 minutes break, and we'll swap seats here, and we'll get started in about 5 minutes.
Great job.
Is she up in Kansas City? A lot of people. Let's go.
Last time. The room was a little bigger, I think, last time.
I think we were at the chamber office, or at the annex.
We were at the annex, and it was a bigger room.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started.
I give you the microphone.
So thank you again for being here for the USD 290 Candidates Forum. Again, just wanted to thank our sponsors that are hosting us in case anyone has come in since we started the earlier session. Our sponsors this evening are the Ottawa Area Chamber of Commerce Legislative Action Committee, the Franklin County Farm Bureau Association, and American Legion Post 60, as well as the City of Ottawa for hosting us and recording and broadcasting our sessions as well. So, I made a mistake earlier and gave everyone 3 minutes for their opening comments, and I'll do the same for this group as well. So what we're going to do is have everyone gets a chance to have 3 minutes to talk about yourself and why you're running, and then we'll have some Q&A after that. So I will start on the end here, and Mrs. Olmstead, if you want to start.
Good evening. My name is Shanda Olmstead, and I am a lifelong Ottawa resident with a passion for the town and our school district. I am married, a mother of 4. I have 3 grown children, one that is a freshman in high school, and 2 of the older children are educators, one within this district. I am seeking the position to foster meaningful change, resulting in a lasting positive impact in the lives of USD 290 students, teachers, and staff.
Okay. Just going down the line.
I'm Diana Starzynik-Dean, and I moved to Ottawa with my husband in 2012. This is the first place I've lived after being in Kansas City, in Los Angeles, and Emporia, where I truly feel like I'm at home. I'm currently the manager at the Old Depot Museum. I'm a writer and particularly love writing about Kansas people and Kansas stories. I'm currently filling out a vacancy that had come up on the board, so I've been on the board for just a few weeks, and that term ends this year. I've been fortunate enough to attend a wonderful public high school in Kansas, and I want to be on this board because I want to make sure all children have the ability to have a wonderful educational experience. Public schools face state and national challenges right now, but school boards can still do great things. They can create an environment that encourages innovative teaching and meaningful learning. I've worked in public libraries, universities, at the Elizabeth Layton Center. I currently work in a history museum. I've lived in big cities. I've lived in small towns. I myself am from an immigrant family, and as a writer with an English degree, I'm the odd one out in a family full of machinists, mechanics, and tool and die makers. But my whole family has always had a commitment to learning and doing our best. These experiences have helped me understand that the lives and needs of people in our community are complex, the needs of our children are complex, and still a good school board can create an environment where all children can be inspired and develop into adaptable, fearless learners who are also amazing adults. I am running for school board because I would like to bring that unique and diverse perspective to that school board to make good decisions for our children.
Thank you. Mr. Woogie?
And I'm running for a school board for 290 District. I've probably attended more meetings in Franklin County Commission and City than probably anyone here. I've tutored the kids, and this is going to be plain up front, because if I'm talking to you, I tell you like it is. And I think that makes a person a little genuine. But I have some questions, and somebody's going to feel uncomfortable probably, but that's just the way I'm put together. And so I'm going to read this, and I'm going to ask some questions. Is it not the teacher's fault a child in school is not getting all A's, or 3, 4 O students, depending on the grading system? Or is it? I ask, am I here? Why am I here at my age and want to be chose to steer the school board's decision-making to help the children learn. There is an art to learning and in social development. That is all of us working together to solve all the problems. My wife and I have 2 sons. Our first son has had over 350 foster children, of which many they have adopted. They build successful farms where the blended families work together to help each other. My other son is amazing and a teacher for a school. I was blessed in my childhood to go to many different schools. I studied the teachers, the curriculum, and the philosophies of the schools. The U290 district is one of the best I've seen in my lifetime. There is a much needed change for how and what's being taught in the classroom. In my 40s, I was taking classes in college through college to get an understanding of myself, but more so finding out why I didn't get straight A's in school with my school experience. The school did not build on my interest and into life and teach me how to learn. I appreciate if you want me to work with the school board, I appreciate your vote. I'm an old guy, so is that a given?
Mr. Cunningham.
I'm Chris Cunningham. I'm an import. I moved here in 2001 and bought my first house, had a friend that lived with me while he went to school at OU. And then when my wife and I got married, she moved down here. We looked at Ottawa because we both grew up in western Wyandotte County, where everybody knows that it's the Legends. We didn't like how that was exploding and the cost of living. We still liked the small town atmosphere. We both went to smaller schools. We both came down here and played when we were in high school. So we started looking, found Ottawa. It fit what we wanted. I think our parents thought we would move back, but since now we've had 4 children at RMH, I think they've given up the idea that we're going to move back. I think they know that this is our home. I love kids. That's part of the reason I'm running. Another reason I'm running is I heard the commissioners talking about this. I see people on social media saying, hey, we'd like to see this or that happen with school. And, you know, I agree with some of those things. And I sat there and thought about it. I was on the fence. I had some people push me off the fence and say, hey, you should probably run. I look at that as on social media, you can't just sit there and talk about it if you don't come and communicate to the school board and tell them what you would like to see. You know, somebody's got to carry the water, I guess. And I was like, well, I talked to my wife about it, and I was like, well, I guess I'm going to go ahead and run for school board. She was blown away because I was always like the anti. I wasn't going to run for something like that, but I guess you got to put it where your love is, and I have another child on the way, so I'm invested in this community and the school for a long time, and I love kids a lot, and I think he said he's substituted too, and in the winters when I was laid off, I worked construction. I used to substitute teach while I was laid off because, you know, that's better than sitting at home, and I get to hang out with kids. So I appreciate your vote. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Catlin.
Mm-hmm. My name is Tim Catlin. I'm been a resident of Ottawa since 2002, and I'm running for a re-election on the USD 290 school board. My wife and I have 4 daughters. That's why you see all the white hair. One is a graduate of USD 290. One is a high schooler, and I have 2 that have just started middle school. I got on the board 4 years ago because I was concerned about the quality of the facilities that we had in the district, along with safety and security of the students. We've made some great strides in these last 4 years, correcting some of those issues with the construction of the new elementary school and the additions that we're adding to the high school. I'm asking for your vote so I can continue being part of the process to bring about positive change to the district. We still have a lot of things that I think still could be done for the district. We need to improve test scores. I think we could increase the transparency of the school board. And then a big focus is retaining and supporting our teachers, giving them the support and resources they need so we can continue striving for excellence in all that we do. I would appreciate your vote on the 7th of November.
Good evening. I'm Linda Alderman. I am a current board member, and I'm asking for another 4-year term. I'm an Ottawa native, Ottawa High School graduate. I'm married to David Alderman. I have 2 kids and 4 grandkids. I'm a lifelong resident of Franklin County, except for the 8 years that I lived in San Francisco, California, where I got a degree in elementary education from San Francisco State University. We came back to Kansas when my husband became partners with my dad on our family farm, and I got a job with USD 290 teaching first grade, which I did for 31 years at Eisenhower Elementary. I'm running because I believe in public education. Also, I think it's advantageous to have someone with experience in education on the school board. I want to continue to be part of the positive direction that this district is going in providing the skills, knowledge, and education to help our students become productive citizens. As a retired teacher, I have the time to devote to the duties of being a school board member, which are much more than just attending 2 meetings a month. As a board member, I've attended several state training sessions. I've also had the privilege of attending state and national conferences where my focus has been on enhancing my knowledge and abilities in order to become a better board member. So, I am here tonight to answer your questions, and I'm looking forward to doing so.
Thank you, Linda. And just another reminder that we do have volunteers in the audience, so if you have a question for our board, for our candidates, raise your hand. They'll find you, they'll bring you pencil and paper, and then you can submit it to our volunteers up here, and we'll get them answered. Also, we do have 2 name tags up here. We did have 2 candidates show up, so for the 6 of you that are here, I'll ask you your question. I'll tell you how much time you have to respond. Do me a favor, we have Richard up here as your timer, so he'll keep you on track if you feel like you're going a little bit over. And just to keep, be respectful of everyone's time, we'll try to keep you on time there. So, Diane, I'm going to start with you on this first question, and I'll give you each a minute to answer this question. What can the school board do to help ensure that students and staff are safe in the classrooms and schools and playgrounds?
There's a lot that is already happening. We've had a variety of drills of all sorts, fire drills, tornado drills. We've had a lot of discussion about active shooter training. Those are all things that we do to keep students safe, teaching students to use good judgment, and just in general making sure that we have facilities that function the way they're supposed to and that we're adhering to best practices. There's always more to be done. There are always improvements that we can make. But those are all, it's a constant process, and we're constantly improving how we address all kinds of emergencies and day-to-day issues.
Thank you.
When there is an emergency, of course, we're in a technology, boy, I shouldn't have tried that one, age of where people have cell phones and great communications. When an incident does happen, it needs to be turned right over to the proper authorities, the ones that are educated for this, and so that they can handle it, and everybody needs to step back and let it happen, because number one, we need to work to keep the problems from happening first, where the kids don't do dumb things.
Wow, I never thought we'd be talking about some of these safety issues now, because I can think back to when I was in school that some of the concerns we have in this day in society definitely were not safety concerns we had when I was in school. Some of you may know, but I've been a in firefighting for almost 20 years on the volunteer level. And what makes me think of the safety is training. Trained staff, trained administrators, training with the local law enforcement, and then just perfecting that training to where it goes smooth, so we are prepared if we are the next person or next community that, heaven forbid, something like that would happen. It's just mind-boggling to have to try to think that we got to worry about this safety, but it's real. All you have to do is watch the news every day.
Well, with regards to the safety of the students, I think it is important that we do have training. I know recently the school district did had some training last week for an intruder. I think it would be more advantageous if the students are actually involved with actual ALICE training, where we can bring our local law enforcement in to interact with the students and train them and help them understand what types of situations that may come up and the best ways to react to those situations, to keep both not only our students safe but also our staff. I think the other question was, they talked about playground safety. One of the added benefits of the bond, at this point, we have pretty much replaced every air conditioning system in the district. Will have replaced with the high school every roof in the district. A lot of the maintenance issues that we have normally would be funded through capital outlay has now been taken care of and is actually rolled into the bond. So when they talk about playground safety, our capital budget is brimming with money to be able to take any safety issues on the playground and act on them immediately and not wait months and months to get that done.
We have done a lot in ensuring that our entries are safe in all of our school buildings, and we've done that with the bond issue. We have, of course, the tornado drills, fire drills, and we've just instituted the intruder drills that we are going to implement at various levels. There was just one last Monday. And I think by having these drills at these levels, we can find if there are some hiccups in those drills and go back and fix them so that everything is better the next time. As far as playground safety goes, our surface at the new school at Sunflower is state-of-the-art. And what we would like to do is, when the bond issue is done and everything is paid for, we anticipate there being some leftover bond money, and we would like to put that type of surface on both the Lincoln and the Garfield playgrounds as well.
That's really kind of the reason I'm up here for this position. I was very concerned when we had the issue on April 10th in the high school and how that all went down. I think we've made some efforts to proceed with ensuring that our students are safe, but I don't believe we've gone far enough. We have community members, the sheriff's department, the police department, they're completely willing to train us. They're out there, and I don't believe all staff has been trained. Now, don't quote me, but I believe we need to cover bases with paras, with student teachers, include our children more. We did have the intruder issue on last Friday. We had, and there's been a lot of controversy on that I've heard, is how it was followed. I don't know who oversaw that, but there's a lot of inconsistencies in how that went down. And
Thank you. We'll go 1 minute on this question again. And Mr. Woogie, I'll start with you this time. Franklin County presently has 4 high schools and 4 districts. Should we look at consolidation of services to eliminate duplication of expenses? And 1 minute.
That's me?
Yes.
Okay. It's kind of nice to keep the little school districts, but when I was in high school, we had a consolidated district, and I rode on a bus about 10 miles before I got home, and our bus was a 47 Ford, you can imagine, and it rode like a truck. But there was a reason for that. The people in these small schools wanted to keep their school in operation, but it just was in the efficiency to bring everything together, and we had bigger sports, and it just, everything worked out better to consolidate, and I guess I turned out all right, but maybe not.
Chris, go ahead.
That's a tough one. That's what makes each community its own community, is its high school or its school district itself. I think before I could say yes, I would approve something like that, or before it, I would have to see the dollar and cents of how that works financially and what those type of savings are before you make that decision. I mean, that's in my opening statement, that's why I moved here, because that's what makes it feel like a small community, is each town has its own school. So I guess I would have to see the dollar and cents of it and what that savings would be.
With regards to consolidating the different districts, I would say I would keep an open mind on that and really take a look at the information, see the pros and the cons. As Chris said, every town has its high school, and that is the kind of the anchor point for the town. I think the idea of consolidation is to save money. Perhaps there's something we can still remain is for separate high schools and in separate districts, but maybe there's an opportunity to share some resources, maybe hire a curriculum director. To get a quality one is very expensive and difficult for districts to do. Perhaps some of those key positions, perhaps you may have a district or two that could share some of those extra personnel to make things possible for the district that they would not have otherwise.
Right now, the superintendents in our county are working together. They had meetings all last fall to determine what goals we wanted to see for our schools, and believe it or not, they were pretty much the same. And the superintendents continue to meet. Last year, we also had a tech consortium between the schools in Franklin County, and that was interesting, and it went well. It's not happening this year, but it was a start. It was a start for the school districts to work together. I once had a superintendent that said all configurations are dictated by dollars. And I think consolidation might come whether we want it or not, and it would probably be up to state funding or lack thereof that would dictate whether Franklin County was consolidated.
I have mixed feelings after going through consolidation of West Franklin with a child. It seems like the community of Williamsburg, it just had such a positive community involvement with anything the school did, and I just see such a downside to that if we steer that direction. If we could, though, consolidate, like I believe someone else said regarding sharing certain positions, whether it be an administrator, a teacher. I do think, as far as excuse my representation of this, but the CTEC, the VOTEC, whatever that industrial arts forces, I think we definitely could capitalize and just really grow if we would include that program to include more districts, possibly. More heads together, more thinking would definitely be a positive thing for the kids.
Consolidation is a tough issue. If you ever want some riveting reading, go to the Richmond Community Museum and pull out the binders and the consolidation of Central Heights. And when you get to the part about the dead pig in the swimming pool, you'll understand. Schools are a source of identity, but that doesn't, it's a tough thing. It's not always right or wrong to consolidate. The questions are, is it really more efficient for administrators to be wandering schools all over the county? Is it better for the students to consolidate? Can we offer things in a better way? Could consolidation happen more in things like bulk purchasing as opposed to combining administration? Schools are kind of the heart of a lot of smaller towns. And when the school goes, sometimes the towns go. So I think it always has to be considered very, very carefully and making sure it's being done for the right reasons.
Thank you. We'll go 1 minute on this question again as well. Chris, I'll start with you this time. Now with the announcement of Dr. Stroh's retirement, how will the school board be involved with USD 290 staff and the community to find a replacement for superintendent? And Chris, 1 minute.
Well, that's a tough question for me since I'm not a current school board member, so I wouldn't know or be privy to how exactly that goes, but I'm going to go with, on some committees and boards I've served on, that I'm assuming we would get a committee together. I know some school districts hire, I call them headhunters, and they get you a list of people, and then we would start going down that list. It's never easy to replace a leader, no matter what level we're talking of government. So trying to find a replacement, and there's always change when you have turnover of leadership, and I guess we would have to support all the staff with those changes.
For selecting a new school board, there's a number of different, new superintendent, a number of different avenues school board can go down. The Kansas City Union of School Boards has a arm there that helps bring candidates to the school boards, as well as outside recruiting firms to bring qualified candidates to a board. But I think it's very important that the board is very transparent in the process of exactly what they're doing and why, and as well as really getting the community involved, because the school district is part of the community. To have the local business leaders have an opportunity to express what their concerns and perhaps needs may be in a new superintendent, as well as the rest of the families in the district.
Okay, thank you. Linda?
Like Tim says, there are several ways to source candidates for a superintendent. One of them is KASB, and there are recruiting firms out there as well. And we are going to be meeting as a school board to interview those firms that we might consider sourcing candidates. We intend to source candidates both from within and from without the district as well. Traditionally, the groups that have interviewed superintendent candidates have been the teachers, community members, and parents.
I believe using the school board, is it the KASB, regarding that search, I'm all in favor of saving the taxpayers' monies in any way we can. I believe an interim would be a good fit for now, for the next year or two, to where we can regroup, find our direction, and go from there.
During the past few years, the school district has achieved some amazing momentum. We have these wonderful new facilities going into place, new programs going into place, and we want to make sure that whoever we bring in is able to keep that momentum going and to continue to grow and improve what we can offer. We definitely need input from the whole community, from students, from teachers, from other people who will be working with this district, because we're asking this person to be in charge of a place where the children and teachers spend many, many hours over the course of their lives. There are a lot of different ways to find a new administrator, and so we're going to be weighing very carefully how to go about that, but the key is to find the right person and not just a person. So it'll be a really interesting challenge for the next few months.
Well, I'd like to see the qualified people that know and have seen how they perform, and that way we know their philosophies toward the district and the children, and the people within. And I know there are people that are working kind of up the ladder, and I've worked at a lot of places, and it really brings the best out, plus it gives the people that are assistants and so forth a real they understand the district and how it's been run and what the problems are and what the goals are. So that's the way I feel about it.
Okay, thank you. I'll give you each 2 minutes to answer this question because there are two parts to this question. So first, as if you're a school board candidate or if you're elected to the school board, what are your ideas for recruiting and retaining quality educators and supporting staff? And then what are your plans for connecting with staff, students, and parents? And Tim, I'll start with you on this question, 2 minutes.
Okay, finish writing the question here. Okay, as a district, we struggle a little bit with retaining teachers. We need to look very carefully at what we can do to, even though they just recently got a 3.5% rate increase, to bring them a little closer on par with some of the surrounding districts in the area. We have made great strides for our administrative staff to pay them as if they were in the Johnson County area. We need to get our teachers moved in that direction. Along that lines, we currently have a substitute shortage. Anyone that can just drive up to Gardner and it's a substitute, they're making $130 a day, where we pay about $100 a day. So a 15-minute drive, you can make 30% more. That is a challenge to maintain enough substitute teachers. And as a board member, I think it's very important that we do connect with the families of the district, to take the time to go out and go through the schools and sit down and listen to the teachers and listen to the administrators, and to get involved and find out exactly what are the issues that they are facing, as well as listening to the family members, because their kids are going to the schools and there are things that go on throughout the course of the year that impacts them, and to speak to those families, because as we make decisions, they definitely impact the families, to make sure that we're listening and thinking about any decision we do, what is the repercussions of that down the road.
Thank you. Linda?
I spoke to the recruitment issue about a week ago at a KASB conference, and part of our issue is that the teaching ranks have pretty much been hollowed out these last more like 6 years, just because the teaching profession has sort of been vilified by our state leaders. Teachers have lost a lot of status. And so we have kids that are thinking, I don't want to go to college to be a teacher, I want to go to college to be something else. And they have done that. With our new funding that we've gotten, our new funding formula, we were able to offer our teachers a 3.5% increase, the biggest we've had in a long time. And that was wonderful, but we'd really like to do more. But our other issue is that we need to respect our teachers and show our teachers that we value their opinions and we value their professionalism. So that's how we can help with our staff. To get substitutes, it goes along with the fact that we have a teacher shortage. People didn't go into education, and we used to get our substitutes from kids that graduated from college and there wasn't a job because there were so many potential teachers out there that they couldn't find a job, and so they would be substitutes until they actually got a job. Nobody goes into college anymore to be a teacher, so we don't have any substitutes. To connect with our staff, I think we as board members need to be available. And we also need to be involved in the schools, and we need to be involved with the students, and we need to let the parents know that we're available.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Olmsted?
I believe for recruitment purposes, we've definitely made the right step in giving the teachers the raise they just received. Hopefully, we can continue to do that so we don't lag, so we can be more competitive for all the areas, surrounding areas that we have. As far as connecting for the teachers, we just need to be transparent as a group, as a district, be advocates for our students, for our teachers, everybody involved in this district. I would like to see town hall meetings where we could gather with all of our thoughts, try to be creative, and come up with some different avenues that maybe other districts haven't tried, and see if that can make us more competitive so we keep people in town and they don't leave and are involved in the community. Thank you.
You're afraid to say my last name.
Because it's the only one I didn't. I understand.
Some of the issues are bigger than just our district. Statewide, there are teacher shortages, and college is expensive. A four-year degree at Emporia State is a $64,000 proposition right now. And if you're asking kids to take out student loans, they need to be able to pay those student loans and rent and all their other expenses because they would like to live like adults. So pay and benefits are most definitely a constant concern. In the short term, pay is the better we can do and be competitive with pay, the more likely we can keep teachers who want to work 14 hours a day between class and grading papers and extra stuff. In the long term, we need to get kids excited about considering teaching as a profession. I also would really like to see us to continue to do better for our paras and our substitutes. They play such a critical role in helping students learn and helping in the classroom, and we need to make sure that we're paying them a respectable rate as well. As far as connecting with the staff, I think it's the role of the board member to be approachable, and that communication can be the thing that makes everything better, or the lack of can make everything worse. And not having an open line of communication where problems can be discussed in order to keep a healthy, happy work environment is crucial to making sure that teachers and students have a good experience.
I'm kind of old. When I was in grade school, about half the kids rode horses to school in high school. That is, well, a lot of people were poor and everything. But we would have teachers, and then we'd have kind of substitutes and tutors, and that's kind of what I did over the years. And they would come and learn the skills of teaching, and they weren't certified teachers, but then they went to school and got to be teachers. And a lot of my family's in teaching, and they need to make a decent salary, but to give right across the board a certain percentage, I think that just like anything, it has to be earned. And if they're good teachers, we need to keep them. And if they've got good philosophies, good teaching skills, and the kids love them, and the other teachers love them, it just doesn't get any better than that.
I think with recruiting, we got to recruit with, I think somebody else hit on it, all the way down with the paras. We got to recruit paras, try to support, encourage them to move up. Maybe some of these paras may even be working on their teaching degree. And that's somebody that you can start picking from that pool if they already show that they're showing those attributes that we're looking for. Staff and teachers, we got to recruit teachers that want to be leaders, teachers that want to constantly raise the bar and not settle for average or settle even for good. I mean, there's some kids that just need to be pushed even harder, and when those kids are pushed harder, we need to try to bring everybody else up with them, and I do believe that is happening, but I think that's the type of teachers we need to try to be recruiting, and the type of teachers and staff that I'd like to see here is like something that was talked about in the commission meeting. We want those type of employees that want to make this home and don't want to move from here, and this is it. I think one of the commissioners even hit it on it that we want all the good things to be talked about Ottawa, and that's why they don't want to leave. And those are the kind of people I'd like to see us try to find.
Okay, thank you. 1 minute each on this next question, and Linda, I'll start with you on this question. when you think about being a school board member and the relationship that exists between the school board and the superintendent, can you kind of explain what your vision is of that relationship as a school board member with the superintendent, and ultimately who do you feel is responsible for the direction of USD 290? And 1 minute each. Linda, I'll let you start.
I think, well, obviously, the board and the superintendent both have a part to play in the direction that the district goes. We hire our superintendent because of her expertise in the field of education. And hopefully, if we've done a good job interviewing this person, we hire them because of their vision as well. The school board's job is to hire the superintendent and to approve policy, but we also have vision on our part as well, and our job is to share that with the superintendent. Not to micromanage the superintendent, but to what is our vision for education for USD 290, and that can come about through private conversations with the superintendent. I know a lot of us on the school board meet with Jeannie, weekly or bi-weekly just to chat and share where we are.
Thank you. Mrs. Olmstead.
I believe that it should be a learning experience between the board and the superintendent, with the superintendent definitely as our leader. I believe the superintendent is hired to guide the district, and we are more or less the rubber stamp, but yet have that open line of communication where we definitely are on the same level, on the same track to work together as a great team.
Mrs. Starsinik.
Dean.
I was scared to say it.
If the school board does their job right, they will hire a superintendent they want to work with and who they feel will reflect the goals of the school board and the community. It's a team effort, but generally you hire the superintendent to do the job. However, the school board also plays a role in being available to the community and taking the temperature of what's happening in the community and being able to contribute that information to conversations with the superintendent. So that way everyone in the community is represented.
Thank you.
Just as the news of the world started to be.
Thank you. I've talked on occasions with Dr. Stroll, and she pretty well understands what I think about an issue. I'm always up front, and I've known the previous superintendents and talked to them, and even though I might fall in the category of being a little ornery, I really have the idea of things being made right and best for the kids. And I get a lot of input from people, the special people, of if there's a problem, and I carry it out. I've got kind of a thing. I find out for sure that it's real, and then I might talk to board members and the superintendent, and I expect to see results. I'm a taxpayer, and I kind of I want to see things done.
What I would see the relationship with the superintendent is we're here for her support group as much as we're here for the people that we represent as well. I was trying to think of an analogy, and I kind of try to think of it as like football. You have the quarterback and you have the offensive coordinator, and everybody's working together as a team for one goal, and that's to win. And I think that one goal would be our kids, and to see every kid graduate as possible. The responsibility of 290, I think, is everybody. I think everybody that's in this room is here for a reason, because they care about USD 290. I think it should be the board's responsibility. It's a checks and balances that, everybody's checking each other, and that I just see that that's a shared responsibility that we should be watching out.
A school board's relationship with the superintendent, the board will work with the superintendent to set the vision, and it's up to the superintendent to implement the vision. One of the most important things that a school board does is, when the time comes around, is to hire a new superintendent, to really take the time to listen to the community, to the staff, to the parents, and what is the vision that they are looking for, along with the rest of the board members. What type of vision do we want to see for the school district, and to take the time to carefully interview candidates to find the one that will best support that vision.
Thank you. We'll go 1 minute each again. And if elected to the school board, can you talk about maybe one goal that you would like to see yourself accomplish as a school board member, and maybe one opportunity you'd like to improve the school district on? And Mrs. Olmstead, I'll start with you. 1 minute.
Can you give me those again?
Sure, absolutely. So, if elected, what's maybe one goal you would like to accomplish as a school board member, and maybe one opportunity you'd like to see the district improve on?
One goal would definitely be the transparency, and to have equality for all children so they can graduate through this system. The one opportunity that I would like to see changed is the safety in our schools. That is a top priority for me, and it's a sad situation the way the world is today, but it scares me to death every time I drop my daughter off at school.
Okay.
Okay. My personal accomplishment as a board member would be to learn as much as I can about as much as I can. There are a lot of children and families in this district. They have a lot of needs, and the schools are doing a lot of things. And school is different than when I was in school, which I can now count in decades ago. And so I want to make sure I fully understand what students and teachers and parents are all facing right now. From a board perspective and a school district perspective, I think a challenge that we can work on is communication. I think a lot of things that, the rumblings that happen because we don't perhaps communicate as effectively as we do, not just with people in the school district, but just people in the community, because they all have a vested interest in the district as well. So those would be the two things I would like to work on.
Okay. Norman?
I am kind of a jack of all trades. Build houses, and but the thing I'm probably most proud of, I work with kids, and some of the kids that I've worked with quit school, and I get with them, and they usually family problems, and have a little anger, and one of the boys that I worked with came by right before Christmas, and he'd gotten his family back together and got married, and told me thank you, and he's actually making more money than what I make. He's really skilled, and he's so happy. It goes back to happiness, because he's making money, and he's bought a new van, and his family's together, and it just doesn't get any better than that. But I got a whole page I could talk about. But he says stop.
He's the man in charge.
I guess my number one goal, I'm not sure exactly on the percentage, but I would like to, my goal is to start off by setting the bar at 90% or above. I'd like to see our graduation rate even higher. I own a construction company, and I would like to see those kids graduate high school. And I guess my thing to improve on would relate to that is, what can we do to make that happen? What needs to change? And I know there's a lot of dynamics that cause this graduation rate, but I just think it's a place that we could start to improve on, is to get our graduation rate even higher than what it is.
If I'm reelected, one of the goals I would like to continue working on is improving the safety and security in the buildings, as well as Chris mentioned, is the graduation rate. 2 years ago, the graduation rate was 80%. Last year, it was 84.9%. That's still 15% of the kids not graduating. We have a fairly high dropout rate as compared to the rest of the state. And to really find out and speak to the kids and look at why they are dropping out, why they're not graduating. And maybe if they've been lifelong residents of the district, then you can go back and perhaps look at their academic career clear back as far as they've been here and see where the wrong turn started. And maybe we can then, as a district, start putting together some programs to help students, perhaps at the kindergarten, first grade level, to set a chart, a path forward where they're charting right towards high school graduation.
I think our biggest goal as school board members right now is to hire a new superintendent that is as good as Dr. Stroh has been. I also think that I would like to find all the opportunities we can to increase teacher pay. Unfortunately, that's related to what the legislature can do for us, but I think that is, in our future. I think that's in our future. I see improving graduation rates as an opportunity for us. It's an opportunity that can come about with our C3 program and also our new career and tech ed that we're developing out there. And also I see an opportunity with us moving forward with our Innovative Schools program that we have been accepted as the Gemini project. So.
We have a few questions that were submitted that we don't have time to ask you, just to be respectful for everyone's time this evening and to give everyone a chance for your closing comments this evening. So we're going to give each of you 1 minute now to just kind of consolidate your thoughts on why you would like us to vote for you as a school board member. And I'll just start here at the end with Mrs. Olmsted.
Okay, this is closing remarks,
Yes.
right? Okay. I feel like I'm a fairly well-qualified candidate with the knowledge of our community, being a lifelong resident, knowing so many different walks of life in this town. People come to me, they call me, they text me with concerns on a daily basis as to what's going on. I try to be open to check out and make sure it's really what they say it is. So I feel like I'm definitely a sounding board for people. I believe transparency will be very crucial in going forward with this district. And I want to advocate for all of our teachers and achieve equality with all students. And safety is definitely my top priority. And I would love the opportunity to serve on the board and would appreciate your vote on November 7th.
Thank you.
I really believe in the power of public education. I think it can open a lot of opportunities for children who come from homes where maybe they haven't seen a big emphasis on education. Our goal is to create a safe place that helps meet their needs and helps them develop into the most amazing adult versions of themselves that they can. Our school board has helped foster an environment where we're already doing some pretty visionary things. We're bringing in some amazing facilities. We have started some amazing programs. And what I'm hoping is that both the students and the teachers will take pride in this and be excited about coming to school every day, which will in turn help with graduation rates and help students succeed. I would like to just create a board be part of a board that empowers teachers and empowers students, and that's why I'm asking for your vote this November.
Well, I just wonder why all my brothers and sisters did better than me in school, because I had to analyze everything. I wanted to know why something wasn't. I guess they accepted what was right. But anyway, so over the year I took some classes, and when I was getting in my 40s, and I took these classes to experiment because I wanted to find out really how a student learns and how come I didn't. My sister get good grades and, everybody, and how come I didn't? So I started an experiment to find answers. And really what I wanted to find out when the kids left school, and I found these and I worked to create an interest in their own life. And I took already.
As I had stated earlier, I enjoy working with kids. I enjoy seeing kids succeed. I'm involved in 4-H a lot. There's no better joy to watch a kid succeed at whatever they do, whether it's in the classroom or on a playing field. And I just want to be part of the board to help see these kids reach the sky. The sky's the limit, and that's my main reason for get on this election to get elected.
I am asking for your vote this November 7th because I'm a strong believer in public education. When we live in a community that has a fairly high poverty rate, education is the ticket out of poverty. We need to, as a district, provide the kids with absolutely every opportunity. When we know poverty is an issue, strive all the harder to overcome those obstacles, to give kids a great education, and to get them excited about their future, to take pride in their accomplishments at what they can do as adults, to just be excited to get out into the world and to make a difference and to inspire the kids to want to do that. So I'm asking for your vote on November 7th.
I come to you as a candidate whose only agenda is to provide the best possible education for our kids. I have no axe to grind. I have no personal dragons to slay. I still have about 80 former students left to graduate from Ottawa High School, plus the children of former students being educated in USD 290. They are my kids, and I want for them the best that we can offer. I'm proud of what this district has accomplished on these past 4 years. The new construction, the progress in choosing curriculum, the C3 initiative, acceptance into the state's Innovative Schools program, and our strengthened cooperation and collaboration with both our certified and our classified staff. I ask for your vote on November 7th so I can be part of the continued positive growth of USD 290.
Okay, well, thank you again to all of you for being here and answering the questions, and good luck to each of you at the elections. Again, reminder that advanced voting begins next Tuesday, October 24th, and the election is on November 7th. Appreciate you being here this evening. Again, thank you to our sponsors and City of Ottawa for hosting us.